Hi, welcome to Nihilakh Miniatures, and today I'm going to show you how to make an Urban Rubble base. First of all, we make sure to stick our base to our handle by using some blue tack. I start by cutting out a small chunk of pre-made scenery. Use your hobby knife to make sure that it has a flat surface to glue it to the base later on. Here I use Army Painter's super glue. In the next step, I use some basing bark chips by Greenstuff World and glue them to the base. Here I also use Army Painter's super glue. Now we use a cork plate to cut out some cork floor tiles. With all the bricks prepped, you can glue them onto the base. Make sure that you don't cover the whole base, because your model also needs some space in the middle. You can stack a few tiles on top of each other. You can also add some broken bricks to the base to make it more interesting to look at. In the next step, you cover the whole base with PVA glue. Now it's time to cover the whole base with sand and small stones. Make sure afterwards that you get rid of the excess on the rim of the base. So the next step is very important because we need to seal our base. Therefore I put some PVA glue onto my wet palette and then add some water to my PVA glue to water it down. Afterwards you are going to put this mixture all over your base. Now you can add some bits and decorations to your base, skulls for example, or some other decorations from your leftover spruce. Now it's time to prime the base, and I use Mechanicus Standard Grey for that. In the next step we lay down our base colors, and we start with Skavenblight Dinge. Paint some of your tiles with Skavenblight Dinge, but not all of them. Then I use a 50-50 mix of Skavenblight Dinge and Karak Stone and cover a few more tiles. In the next step, we start painting all the metallic parts, and we use Leadbelcher for that. Then I use Steampunk Copper by Tooth & Coats for all the bronze metallics. For painting the skulls, I like to use Rakarth Flesh, but of course you can choose a different color like Xandri Dust or Shakti Bone. Now we cover the whole base with Agrax Earthshade. Make sure that it doesn't pool anywhere. So now it's time for dry brushing, and I use Vallejo Game Color Stonewall Grey for that. Then it's time to dry brush all the skulls, and therefore I use Tyrant Skull. For highlighting all the silver parts, I use Vallejo Chrome Model Air. For highlighting all the bronze metallics, I use Sycorax Bronze. So the next part is totally optional. I use Nihilakh Oxide to weather down all the metallic parts. Nihilakh Oxide is a very cold color, so I use it on a warm color like the bronze materials here. Then I take the dry paint, Ryza Rust, and water it down to glaze consistency and add it to the metallic parts of the base. Ryza Rust is a very warm color, so therefore I use it on a colder color like Leadbelcher. Now we come to the fun part by adding some pigments to our base, and the first pigments I use is Burnt Umber by Vallejo. Make sure that you really rub the pigments into your base, but you have to be careful when working with pigments. They can easily get everywhere and you should really wear a mask while working with them. We continue using pigments, and now we're going to use rust. Focus this on the middle section of the base. Now it's time for dark yellow ochre, and we are going to sprinkle this over the base. Now we need to seal the pigments, and therefore I use some airbrush thinner. Just get a pipette and then put it all over your base. Make sure that you don't use too much of this, because otherwise it can be very glossy when it dries. So the last step is painting the rim of the base, and I use AK Intense Black for this. So our base is finished. As you can see, the middle part of the base here is a little bit too glossy. If you spot something like this, you can always go back and add a few more pigments into the mix. Also, you can use mineral spirits to seal the pigments. So our Urban Rubble base is now finished. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next video. Cheers!